My boyfriend always had an excuse when it came to posting pictures of us online. At first, I thought maybe he was just private, but the more I asked, the more defensive he became. It felt like he was hiding me from the world, and soon I began to wonder if there was someone else he didn't want finding out about me. My name is Milana. And can you even imagine realizing the man you loved, the one who painted a future with you and wrote beautiful poems, was actually living an elaborate double life, manipulating not just strangers online, but you? Well, buckle up, because I didn't just find out. I decided to flip the entire script on him in a way he never saw coming. It all started at this party, right? My boyfriend, Kylan, walked in, just radiating this intense entrepreneurial energy. He spent the whole night talking about his mindset, showing off pictures from his recent solo trip to Thailand. And honestly, his confidence was so attractive. We just clicked instantly. For that first year, it was pure magic. He was everything I ever wanted, attentive, incredibly romantic, genuinely invested in us. He'd write me these stunning poems, saying I'd completely changed his perspective on love. We went to amazing restaurants. He planned the most thoughtful dates. I thought I'd found my person. But looking back, there were these glaring red flags, and I completely missed them. The biggest one? His social media. Specifically, his Instagram. This guy, Kylan, he had over 15,000 followers. He'd post daily, the whole entrepreneur lifestyle, motivational quotes, gym selfies, travel shots, business advice. But in 3 years of us dating, he never, not once, posted a single picture of us together. At first, I wasn't bothered. I'm not huge on social media myself. I post maybe once a month, usually just my dog or something I cooked. So it didn't register. But as time wore on, I started noticing the captions. They were like little knives, twisting in my gut. Living the single life has its perks, he'd write under a beach photo. Or freedom is everything under a picture from a hiking trip we took together. And my favorite, the only commitment I need is to my goals, with a gym selfie. His entire profile bio read, entrepreneur, traveler, free spirit. Not a single mention of being in a relationship. Not a hint of me. About 6 months ago, I finally couldn't take it anymore. We were having dinner at his apartment, and I just had to ask, "Why, Kylan, why do you never acknowledge our relationship online?" And his response, oh, it was something else. He gave me this condescending smile, like I was being utterly naive, and said, "Labels kill love, baby. What we have is beyond social media. I'm building a brand here, and my followers respond to freedom and independence." I pushed back, right? I told him it felt like he was hiding me. And he just went full defensive. Are you really going to be that girlfriend who needs validation through Instagram? He made me feel so incredibly small, so clingy and insecure, just for bringing it up. So I dropped it. I let it go, but it gnawed at me. Especially when I'd see him constantly glued to his phone, smiling at notifications. Whenever I asked who he was texting, it was always networking connections or business associates. Always a vague, dismissive answer. Then, 2 months ago, I was helping him move some furniture, and I spotted a notebook on his desk. It was open to a page titled Content Calendar. And what jumped out at me, what made my stomach absolutely drop, was a note that read, "Keep posts aspirational. Maintain single entrepreneur aesthetic. Female followers engage more with available men." I didn't say a word then. The shock, the betrayal, it just froze me. Instead, I started paying closer attention. I saw how he'd subtly angle me out of photos when we were at events. How he'd post Instagram stories of our dinners but never show me. How those text notifications would come in late at night, and he'd instinctively turn his phone away from me, every single time. It was all so clear now, sickeningly clear. 3 weeks ago, I made a decision. A powerful, terrifying decision. I created a fake Instagram profile. Her name was Lilith, and she was a 25-year-old girl. I used photos of my college roommate's cousin, with her full permission, of course, who lives in another state and has zero social media presence. I built up the profile with generic lifestyle posts, followed a bunch of entrepreneur accounts, and yes, I followed Kylan's. It took exactly 3 hours before Kylan followed the account back. And within minutes, he slid into Lilith's DMs. "Hey, beautiful. Love your vision. We should connect sometime." I felt absolutely sick to my stomach. But I played along. For the next 2 weeks, Lilith and Kylan messaged daily. And what he sent her, it was a cruel mirror. He sent Lilith the exact same poems he'd written for me. He suggested the exact same first date spot he'd taken me to when we first started dating. He told Lilith he was completely single and just waiting for someone who understands his vision. When Lilith pressed him about his relationship status, he actually said, "I've been solo for years. Freedom is essential to my journey. Some women can't handle a man who prioritizes growth over attachment." Last week, Kylan suggested they meet up. And I, as Lilith, agreed. I proposed the same restaurant where Kylan and I have our 3-year anniversary dinner reservation this Friday. And he immediately agreed. He even said he'd been wanting to try that place. Can you believe the audacity? So, here's my plan. It's happening tomorrow night. I'm going to show up for our anniversary dinner. He thinks he's meeting Lilith, the dream girl from Instagram, but he's actually going to meet me. He has no idea that I know everything. He doesn't know that I've been compiling screenshots of every single conversation, every single lie. He doesn't know that I've already spilled my guts to my best friend, Stacy. I don't just want to break up with him. I want him to face what he's done. I want him to sit across from me and explain why he's been living this double life, why he's been making me feel completely insane for having normal expectations, why he thought I was stupid enough not to find out. Our reservation is for 7:30 tomorrow night at this really upscale Italian place downtown that requires a deposit for reservations. He's been talking all week about how excited he is for our anniversary. This morning, he even sent me flowers at work with a card that read, "To many more years together." Meanwhile, he told Lilith he'd meet her at the bar at 7:15, 15 minutes before our actual reservation. His plan was so obvious, so twisted. Meet her for a drink, charm her, exchange numbers, and then seamlessly transition to dinner with me. The restaurant has these semi-private booths, so he probably thought he could pull it off, avoid anyone he knew. But I've got my own plan. I'm going to arrive at 7:10 and sit at the bar, where I can see him walk in. I'm going to watch him search for Lilith. I'm going to watch him check his phone, growing confused when she doesn't show up. And then at exactly 7:30, I'm going to walk up to him for our anniversary dinner. I keep replaying all the scenarios in my head. Will he try to lie his way out of it? Will he blame me somehow? Will he beg for forgiveness? I've practiced what I'm going to say so many times, but I'm still absolutely terrified, yet also strangely exhilarated, by how it will actually play out. Yesterday, he even texted me asking what I was wearing so we could coordinate. I told him I bought a new red dress for the occasion. He texted back, "Can't wait to see you in it." An hour later, he messaged Lilith, asking her what she's wearing so he could recognize her at the bar. Lilith told him she'd be wearing a blue dress. He responded, "Blue is my favorite color. I bet it brings out your eyes." I mean, the absolute nerve. I've already packed up most of my things from his apartment. While he was at a networking event last weekend, I just gradually moved all my important stuff back to my place. He hasn't even noticed that half my clothes are gone, or that I took all my expensive skincare products from his bathroom. And all the screenshots? Saved, backed up to my cloud storage. Part of me, the furious part, wants to send them to his mom, who absolutely adores me and is always asking when we're getting married. But another part of me just wants a clean break after I confront him. My friend Stacy thinks I should record the whole conversation, but that feels like it crosses a line. I just want him to know that I'm not as naive, as stupid, as he thought I was. I honestly don't know what happens after tomorrow night. I've been with him for 3 years. We've talked about marriage, kids, buying a house together. My entire future was tied to this man. I'll update after the confrontation tomorrow. Wish me luck. Okay, guys, it's me, Milana. I'm sitting in my car in the restaurant parking lot right now. I can see his car already. He's early, which he never is for our dates. He's here early for Lilith. I'm shaking with anger, but also this weird, unsettling calm. The next time I update, it'll be over. 3 years. Over. Because he couldn't even pretend to be committed on Instagram. Because labels kill love. Well, so does lying. First update. And wow, thank you all for the outpouring of supportive comments on my last post. I honestly wasn't expecting thousands of people to care about my relationship drama, but here we are. Many of you asked for an update, so here's exactly what went down at that restaurant last night. I arrived at 7:05, 5 minutes earlier than planned. I parked a few spots away from Kylan's car and took a moment to check my makeup in the mirror. I'd chosen my outfit so carefully, the red dress I told him about, paired with the diamond earrings he gave me for Christmas last year. I wanted to look exactly like myself, not some avenging angel trying to catch a cheater. Walking into the restaurant, I spotted Kylan immediately. He was sitting at the bar, looking anxiously at the door every time it opened. And my heart sank, or maybe it hardened. He was wearing a new blue button-down shirt, matching what Lilith said she'd be wearing. Not coordinating with my red dress, like we discussed. First betrayal of the evening, before I even said a word. I stood in the entryway where he couldn't see me. The hostess approached, asking if I had a reservation. I explained I was surprising someone and pointed to Kylan. She smiled, probably thinking I was planning something incredibly romantic. If only she knew. For a full 15 minutes, I watched him. He checked his phone constantly, obviously typing messages to Lilith. He fixed his hair in the mirror behind the bar. He ordered a whiskey neat, his impressive drink for first dates, not the wine he usually had with me. At exactly 7:30, when our actual anniversary reservation time arrived, I walked up behind him. He was so utterly focused on that door, waiting for Lilith, he didn't notice me until I placed my hand on his shoulder. When he turned and saw me, his expression cycled through confusion, then pure shock, and then this forced, almost comical happiness, all in a split second. "Milana," he exclaimed, standing up awkwardly. "You look amazing, but you're early for our reservation." I smiled, a cold, hard smile. "No, Kylan," I told him, "I'm exactly on time for 7:30. Then I paused, letting the silence hang heavy, before delivering the punch. "He's the one who's early." "So, who are you waiting for?" The panic in his eyes was immediate, palpable. He stammered, claiming he just wanted to have a drink before dinner, that's all. The hostess, bless her heart, interrupted then, saying our table was ready. As we followed her, Kylan kept checking over his shoulder, his eyes darting towards the entrance. I asked if he was still looking for someone. He denied it, saying he thought he saw a business contact. Pathetic. Once we were seated, I maintained the charade for about 10 agonizing minutes, making small talk about my day while he grew increasingly distracted, checking his phone under the table. Finally, I'd had enough. I reached across the table, took his phone right out of his hands, and asked, "Are you looking for Lilith?" The color drained from his face entirely. "How do you know that name?" he whispered, horrified. Instead of answering, I took out my own phone, opened Instagram, and switched to the Lilith account right in front of him. His eyes widened, finally understanding. "You catfished me," was his first response. Like I was the one who did something wrong. The absolute audacity of this man. I explained calmly that I created the profile after noticing his single aesthetic online and his secretive behavior with his phone. I asked why he told Lilith he'd been solo for years when we'd been together for 3. And then came the deluge of his tactics. First, he claimed it was just marketing for his brand, that appearing single helped him get more followers and business opportunities. When I didn't buy that for a second, he switched to claiming he was testing me because he suspected I was cheating. I actually laughed out loud at the sheer absurdity of that. And then he pivoted again. That's when the gaslighting started. He tried telling me I was overreacting to something harmless. That messaging other women didn't mean anything because he never actually met up with them. That I was insecure and controlling for monitoring his social media presence. I cut him off mid-sentence. I placed my phone on the table, screen up, showing our conversation as Lilith. I scrolled through, highlighting key points, him sending Lilith the exact same poems he wrote for me. Him scheduling our anniversary dinner as a first date with another woman. Him explicitly stating he was single. That's when he switched to full-blown damage control. His eyes got all sad, his voice dropped to that soft, apologetic tone. He admitted he messed up, but insisted it was just online flirting that never went anywhere physical. He claimed he loved me, but struggled with commitment and attention-seeking behavior. He actually started crying right there, saying he needed help, therapy, whatever I wanted. I just looked at him, utterly disgusted, and asked him directly, "How many others have there been?" He hesitated. "Just long enough for me to know." The answer wasn't 0. Then he claimed there had been some flirting, but nothing serious and never physical. I didn't believe him for a second. The waiter approached to take our order, clearly sensing the tension. Bless his heart. I looked at Kylan, then back at the waiter and said, "We won't be staying." Then I stood up and walked out. He followed me to the parking lot, getting increasingly desperate. He begged me not to throw away 3 years over a stupid mistake. He promised to delete Instagram completely. He even lied, right there in the parking lot, claiming he'd been planning to propose on our upcoming trip next month, a trip that never existed. We had no trip planned. I got in my car, rolled down the window, and told him simply, "I'll be by tomorrow to get the rest of my things from your apartment." He kept saying we needed to talk more, that I couldn't just end things like this. I just drove away, leaving him standing there alone in the parking lot. When I got home, I had 37 missed calls and over 50 texts from him. I didn't even read them all, but they ranged from apologetic to angry to outright manipulative. The last one I saw before finally blocking his number was, "You set me up. That's not love. You clearly wanted a way out of this relationship." I thought I'd feel relieved, or maybe vindicated after confronting him. But mostly, I just felt bone-weary. 3 years with someone who could so easily live a double life. 3 years of believing in a relationship that, apparently, meant absolutely nothing to him the moment an attractive profile sent a DM. And here's where things got even more twisted. At around 2 in the morning, I got a notification from Instagram. Kylan had unblocked the Lilith account. Yes, he blocked it right after our confrontation. And he sent a long message. He claimed I misunderstood everything. That he knew it was me all along and was playing along to teach me a lesson about trust. That my little test proved I never trusted him, and now he couldn't trust me either. More gaslighting, even after all that. I didn't respond, but you bet I took screenshots of everything. This morning, I texted his roommate, Shane, who I've always gotten along with, asking when would be a good time to come get my remaining stuff. Shane called me immediately, sounding completely confused. Apparently, Kylan told him we'd just had a small fight, but were working things out. Shane had no idea we actually broke up. Shane was genuinely shocked when I explained what had happened, and told me to come over at noon, when Kylan would be at his weekly pickup basketball game. When I arrived, Shane helped me load my things into my car. And while we were packing, he mentioned something that made my stomach absolutely plummet. Kylan had been bringing women to their apartment when I was out of town for work. Shane, being the trusting soul he is, assumed they were just friends because, well, Kylan was in a relationship with me. He never suspected a thing until now. Shane also revealed something else. Kylan had been planning a Vegas trip with some business contacts next weekend, a trip he never, ever mentioned to me. Shane saw the hotel confirmation on their shared printer. 1 room, 2 guests. When Shane asked about it, Kylan said it was a last-minute networking opportunity. The lies just kept piling up. I finished gathering my things, thanked Shane, and left. As I was pulling out of the parking lot, Kylan's car turned in. He saw me, and without a second thought, he blocked the exit with his car, jumping out and demanding to know what I was doing at his place. I rolled down my window and simply told him I got my stuff. And Shane knows everything. Kylan's face completely changed. He started frantically saying Shane was lying, that he's always been jealous of our relationship, that I can't trust anything he says. I told him to move his car or I'd call building security. He eventually moved, but then he followed me for several blocks, calling repeatedly from different numbers when he realized I'd blocked his. When I got home, I found he'd already reached out to my best friend Stacy on Instagram, spinning some story about me having mental health issues and misunderstanding our relationship status. Stacy, being the amazing friend she is, shut him down immediately, but it just shows how far he'll go to control the narrative. And the wildest part? He's already changed his Instagram bio to Healing from Betrayal. Trust is everything. And posted a cryptic black and white photo with the caption, "When someone shows you who they really are, believe them." Like he's the victim here. I wasn't going to tell his mom what happened, but she called me this afternoon, asking why Kylan was posting such strange things online. I told her we broke up, but kept the details vague. She pressed for more information, saying Kylan told her I'd gone crazy and created fake profiles to test him. At that point, I just couldn't hold back. I finally explained the entire situation. She was mortified. She apologized to me repeatedly and said she'd be having a serious conversation with her son. Shane texted me an hour ago, saying, Kylan is telling everyone who will listen that I'm unstable and obsessive, that I manufactured this whole scenario because I was afraid he was going to break up with me. He's even shown people our text conversations that he's edited to remove context and make me look irrational. I'm not worried about people believing him. Anyone who truly knows me knows that's not who I am. But I am concerned about what other manipulation tactics he might try. I'm staying with Stacy for a few days, just to be safe. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Oh, and for everyone asking if I sent the screenshots to his followers or posted them publicly, no, I haven't. As satisfying as it might be to expose him to the world, I don't want to stoop to his level of manipulation. His true colors will show themselves without my help. Edit. He just posted a series of Instagram stories about forgiveness and understanding the whole story. Then, the absolute nerve, he tagged me in a throwback photo from a year ago with the caption, "Missing what was real." I immediately untagged myself and made my profile private. The audacity of this man is truly unbelievable. Does he really think I'd fall for this manipulation after everything? This is getting exhausting. It's been exactly 1 week since the restaurant confrontation, and I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone who commented on my last posts with advice and support. And to those who predicted Kylan wouldn't just accept the breakup and move on. You were absolutely, terrifyingly right. After staying at Stacy's for 3 days, I returned to my apartment on Monday, thinking the worst was over. I was so wrong. That afternoon, I got a call from my sister, Lena, asking if I was okay. Why? Because Kylan had reached out to her on Facebook. He told her he was worried about my mental health and asked her to check on me because I was making up stories about him. My sister and I are incredibly close, so she immediately knew something was off about his message. I filled Lena in on everything and she was livid. Turns out, Kylan hadn't just messaged her. He'd contacted several people in my family, including my dad. My dad called me that evening, utterly confused about why my troubled boyfriend was asking him to stage some kind of intervention for me. I spent an hour explaining the whole twisted situation, even showing him screenshots of the Lilith conversations. My dad went from confused to absolutely furious in record time and told me he'd handle Kylan if he contacted our family again. Tuesday morning, I walked into work to find a massive bouquet of roses on my desk. The card simply said, "We need to talk. 3 years deserves more than this." I immediately took the flowers to the break room for anyone to take and threw away the card. My coworker, Giovanna, saw me and asked what was going on. When I explained briefly, she mentioned that a really intense guy had delivered them himself instead of a florist and had asked her multiple questions about my schedule and whether I was seeing anyone new. I was getting seriously, deeply uncomfortable with his behavior, so I decided to message Shane to see if Kylan had mentioned any other plans to contact me. Shane called me immediately, sounding incredibly stressed. He told me Kylan had been acting completely erratic, staying up all night obsessively checking social media and ranting about how I'd ruined his brand and damaged his reputation. Shane also revealed that Kylan had canceled his mysterious Vegas trip and had been inviting different women over each night since our breakup. He also overheard Kylan on the phone telling someone he was going to fix things with Milana one way or another. Shane was worried enough about Kylan's state of mind that he genuinely wanted to warn me. He even mentioned he was looking for a new apartment because the situation was just getting too weird, too unsafe. Wednesday afternoon, I was leaving work when I spotted Kylan sitting in his car in the parking lot. My heart hammered. I immediately turned around and went back inside, asking a male coworker to walk me to my car later. When we eventually went out, Kylan's car was gone, but there was a handwritten letter tucked under my windshield wiper. I didn't even read it. Just threw it away. I wasn't giving him the satisfaction of knowing his tactics were working, not anymore. By Thursday, I was seriously considering a restraining order, but I wasn't sure if what he'd done so far would qualify. I called a local legal aid office, and they said that while his behavior was concerning, I needed more documentation of explicit threats or repeated unwanted contact after clearly telling him to stop. So, I started keeping a detailed log of every single interaction and saving every message. That evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. It was Kylan's mother. She was calling to apologize for her son's behavior and to let me know she was trying to get him to seek therapy. She sounded genuinely concerned and deeply embarrassed. She also warned me that Kylan had always had trouble accepting rejection and might continue trying to contact me. I thanked her for the call, but kept it brief. While I appreciated her reaching out, I wasn't interested in getting pulled back into Kylan's drama through his family. Friday night was when things really escalated. I was having dinner at a restaurant with Stacy when Kylan walked in with a woman. They were seated at a table across the room, clearly visible from where we sat. This was no coincidence. Stacy had posted a photo of our appetizer on her Instagram story an hour earlier, tagging the restaurant location. Kylan had clearly seen it and decided to show up. The entire time, he kept making sure I noticed them, laughing too loudly, touching her arm constantly, glancing over to check if I was watching. The woman seemed completely unaware she was being used as a prop in his pathetic attempt to make me jealous. I refused to give him the reaction he wanted. Stacy and I continued our dinner, ignoring them completely. After about 30 minutes of getting no response from me, Kylan got up and headed to the restroom, deliberately walking past our table. As he passed, he leaned down and said, just loud enough for me to hear, "This could still be us if you'd stop being so dramatic." That was it. I stood up, looked him directly in the eyes, and told him clearly, my voice steady despite my raging heart, "Leave me alone. Do not contact me, my friends, or my family again. We are done. If you continue, I'll get a restraining order." Kylan's face turned beet red, and he hissed that I was making a scene over nothing. I just sat back down, and he stormed out of the restaurant, leaving his date looking utterly confused at their table. Stacy and I paid our bill and left quickly after that. The poor woman he was with looked mortified. I almost wanted to warn her about what she was getting into. Saturday morning, Kylan's manipulation tactics took a new, insidious turn. He posted a long, vague Instagram post about forgiveness and misunderstandings in relationships. Then he shared several old photos of us in his stories with captions like, "Missing the real connection we had," and "Sometimes people lash out when they're hurt." The audacity of this man, trying to rewrite our breakup as some mutual misunderstanding, painting himself as the heartbroken victim. Sunday brought the biggest, most shocking surprise yet. I was grocery shopping when I literally ran my cart into Kylan's ex-girlfriend, Kellen. I recognized her from photos I'd seen during our relationship. Kellen explained that she'd seen Kylan's recent posts and figured out what was happening. She wanted to warn me that when she broke up with him 2 years ago, right before he met me, he spent months trying to get her back, showing up at her workplace, contacting her friends, even dating her coworker briefly just to stay connected to her life. And then she dropped the bomb that made my entire world feel like a lie. Many of the romantic gestures Kylan had made for me, the poems, the specific date ideas, even certain phrases he used, were completely recycled directly from his relationship with her. The original poems he wrote for me and later sent to Lilith were actually first written for Kellen. I asked her why she was telling me all this. She said she wished someone had warned her about his patterns when they broke up, and she wanted to help me avoid the months of harassment she'd endured. She had eventually moved to a new apartment and changed her phone number just to get away from him. I left that conversation feeling strangely validated, but also deeply, deeply disturbed. Everything about our relationship suddenly seemed fake. Not just his social media presence, but the romantic gestures I'd thought were so special and unique to us. Monday morning, yesterday, I woke up to dozens of notifications. Overnight, Kylan had gone on a posting spree, sharing screenshots of text conversations between us. The screenshots were heavily edited and taken completely out of context to make it look like I had been possessive and unstable throughout our relationship. In his captions, he claimed I had created the Lilith profile because of my severe insecurity and trust issues, and that he tried to be patient with my emotional problems. He ended the post series with, "I'm sharing this not to hurt Milana, but because I'm worried about her and hope she gets the help she needs." My blood was boiling. I wanted to respond with my own receipts, the screenshots of his conversations with Lilith, the messages from his mother, the warnings from his ex. But I knew engaging publicly would only feed into his narrative that I'm obsessed with him. Instead, I called his mother again. I'd kept her number after our previous conversations. She answered immediately and sounded utterly exhausted. I explained what Kylan had posted and how he was trying to damage my reputation. She was mortified and promised to speak with him immediately. 3 hours later, all the posts about me were deleted and his profile went private. This morning, Shane texted me saying Kylan's mom had shown up at their apartment yesterday and had a major confrontation with him. She apparently threatened to stop helping with money if he continued harassing me or posting about me online. Shane said Kylan was furious, but for once seemed to be taking the threat seriously. For now, things have quieted down. I've strengthened my privacy settings on all accounts and warned my workplace about the situation. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thanks again for all the support, everyone. It's been genuinely helpful to have objective perspectives during this bizarre, insane situation. Edit. Just as I was about to post this, Stacy called. Kylan just announced on Instagram that he's moving to Miami next month for a major business opportunity. I'm skeptical about whether it's true or just another manipulation tactic, but either way, distance would be incredibly welcome at this point. I'll keep you all posted. Hey everyone, Milana here. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I've waited to post again because I wanted to be absolutely sure things were truly resolved before sharing. So much has happened, I've been struggling with how to organize it all, but here goes. First, the big news. Kylan did actually move to Miami. But not for the major business opportunity he claimed. The real story came out gradually, and it's way more embarrassing for him than I could have ever imagined. Remember Shane, Kylan's roommate? He reached out about 3 weeks after my last post. We met up, and he filled in some major, jaw-dropping gaps in my understanding of what really happened after our confrontation. According to Shane, Kylan's entrepreneur business was barely making any money. His flashy Instagram lifestyle was almost entirely funded by his parents, particularly his mom. After she showed up at their apartment, threatening to cut him off financially if he kept harassing me, she also demanded to see his business records and bank statements. Apparently, Kylan had been telling his parents he was running a successful online business, when in reality, he had only 2 small, insignificant clients and was spending most of his time creating content for his personal brand. He'd been using the business expense money they sent to fund his fake lifestyle, the fancy restaurants, the lavish trips, the designer clothes, all while barely earning enough to cover his portion of the rent. When his mom discovered this outright deception, she was done. She told him he had 2 options: move back home to Ohio and work for his dad's company, or move to Miami, where his uncle owns a firm and could give him an actual job with accountability. She would help with moving expenses and 3 months of rent in Miami, but after that, he was entirely on his own. The major business opportunity was basically his family's last, desperate attempt to get him to grow up and stop playing entrepreneur on Instagram. Shane said Kylan was absolutely furious and kept ranting about how no one understood his vision or appreciated his brand building, but ultimately, he had no choice but to accept the Miami offer. But even with the move looming, Kylan tried one last time to reconnect with me. He showed up at my apartment building on a Sunday morning. Fortunately, I wasn't home. I was at brunch with Stacy. My neighbor, George, texted me that some guy had been knocking on my door for 10 minutes, then sat in the hallway for another hour before leaving a letter. I asked George to throw the letter away without reading it, but he'd already opened it, thinking it might be important. He texted me a photo of it. The letter was 8 pages long, handwritten, and full of the most manipulative nonsense you can imagine. It was all about how I was the only one who ever believed in him, and how he was moving to Miami to become the man I deserved. And of course, there was a lot of blame shifting, how my test with the fake profile showed I never trusted him, which forced him to react badly. The end was classic Kylan. When I make it big in Miami, I know you'll regret how you handled things. My door will always be open when you realize what you threw away. The audacity. Even in his goodbye letter, he couldn't take responsibility or acknowledge what he did wrong. It was still somehow my fault, and he was still positioning himself as the prize I would eventually come crawling back to. I told George to throw it away and thanked him for the heads up. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. About a month after he moved, I was at a work happy hour when I got a string of notifications from Instagram. Kylan had tagged me in 20 old photos of us together, all posted within minutes of each other. Each caption was more desperate than the last, missing what was real, the one who got away. Sometimes you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. I immediately untagged myself from all of them and blocked his account, but the damage was done. Several colleagues and friends had already seen the notifications. People started texting me, asking if we were back together. Even my dad called, concerned that Kylan was acting weird online again. I decided enough was enough. I called his mother. I'd kept her number after our previous conversations. She answered immediately and sounded utterly exhausted, like she'd been dealing with this her whole life. I explained what Kylan had done and how it was actively affecting my work and personal life. She apologized profusely and promised to address it with him immediately. The very next day, all the photos were deleted. His mom texted me, saying she'd had a come-to-Jesus talk with Kylan and his uncle in Miami. They laid down the law. If he contacted me again in any way, his uncle would terminate his employment, and his parents would completely cut all financial ties. It was clear, this was his absolute last chance. Around this time, I ran into Shane at a shop. He mentioned that before Kylan left, he found a notebook in their apartment. Not just a notebook, but a notebook with actual scripted conversations and date ideas. Shane said it included details about which stories worked best with different types of women, and how to adjust his personality based on what each woman seemed to respond. 2. Shane, finding it so bizarre, even took a photo of a page. It had a literal flowchart of how to respond to different reactions when reciting his self-written poems. That notebook, that twisted little playbook, explained so much about why Kylan always seemed to have the perfect thing to say, why every interaction felt so practiced. He wasn't intuitive or especially connected to me. He was literally following a script he'd refined through trial and error with multiple women. My entire relationship, his love for me, was a carefully orchestrated performance. Yesterday, I received a certified letter from a law firm in Ohio. For a moment, I panicked, thinking Kylan was trying to sue me for something absolutely ridiculous. Instead, it was a formal letter from his parents' attorney stating that Kylan has agreed to cease all contact with me, directly or indirectly. The letter included a signed statement from Kylan himself, acknowledging that any further contact would result in legal consequences. I'm not naive enough to think a piece of paper will magically change who Kylan is, or suddenly give him a conscience. But it shows his parents are serious about preventing further harassment, and it finally gives me clear, legal recourse if he ever tries to contact me again. To everyone who supported me through this insane journey, thank you. You have no idea how much it meant to know I wasn't alone. Edit. Oh, and get this. I was organizing my closet yesterday and found a small box of Kylan's things I'd completely forgotten about. Just some toiletries and a couple of t-shirts he'd left at my place. I just put them in a donate pile. It felt surprisingly good. Like finally clearing out the last dusty corner of him from my life. And I know, truly know, that I'm done. My door is officially, permanently closed.